Of the South African cross-country series kicked off with the Mpumalanga 400 last weekend. Henk, Lategan and Cummings in a Toyota Hilux finished ahead of Giniel, Villiers and Haro also in a Hilux. The Ford Ranger of Woolridge and Alvene Vonk rounded up the podium positions. Joining us tonight to talk about the local rally scene and the sport at large are Archie Rutherford, the local series CEO, Julien Hardy, the CR6 designer, and Brian Baragwanath, a former Dakar driver. Welcome to studio, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. I think let's start with the question about the South African cross-country championship starting last weekend. New faces, new rules and regulations. Talk us through what actually happened last weekend.
Well, last week, firstly, thanks for inviting us. Last week was our first race of the series. We've got 7 races in the series this year. From last year, we only had 6. So last week was the Dahlstrom 400. And exciting stuff, yeah, new cars, new sponsors out. Toyota sponsoring again this year, as well as Total. And Ford are in it in a big way this year as well. So thanks go to them. And of course, Pirelli, which is one of our stakeholders as well. So without them, the series couldn't take place. So we're very grateful for that. And yeah, we got some new teams this year. Total Excellium have come on board to help a team. 2 Toyotas are running with them. And of course, the usual suspects, the Ford Works team and the Toyota Works team will be there again for the season.
All right. So, Julien, what a lot of people may be a little surprised about is actually that South Africa manufactures a lot of these racing cars. Now, this is not a small feat. What sort of process and work goes into it to ensure that it's of an international standard and can compete in world events like the Dakar Rally?
First of all, yeah, the cars are built to race in South Africa, first and foremost. It's a perfect testing ground for us. We got varied conditions on all the different races here. The only thing we don't have is the big sand dunes, but we typically will go to Namibia to test the cars there. And if we do well in South Africa, generally the cars will do well in the big races. So it's our testing ground here, first of all. The conditions are challenging in South Africa. The competition is very tough. We have a lot of very good drivers. So yeah, we make the most out of the conditions here to fine-tune the cars.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
And Brian, there has been some changes as well in terms of the scoring format for the series. How do you think that would then affect how racers prepare and also how they navigate routes, for instance?
For the local series, yeah, I think we get a throwaway this year, so you can sort of commit on a higher level where if you do mess a race up, you can get your points back. But yeah, in all, our local series is a brilliant testing ground for the rally scene worldwide, where we're able to compete with all the manufacturers around the world. It's quite substantial how much development gets done in South Africa alone.
All right.
Yeah.
And Archie, there are new events also, KZN, Free State. Let's talk about that and how that will have an impact on the local racing series front.
Well, KZN is back on the calendar. We haven't raced there for a number of years. It's an iconic event. It's called the Sugar Belt 400. It'll take place in April this year. A lot of mountains, a lot of sugarcane. So we're very excited about that. We've got a few new events this year. We've got Clarence coming up in May, which should be quite good. Also a very mountainous area around Clarence, but a new event nonetheless. And then the final new event of the year is at Nampa, Boerteville. So that's more sort of open felt racing through the mealie fields and that. So yes, we're looking forward to it. It should be an exciting year ahead.
Mm-hmm. And this is now going to be a slight curveball, you know, because we want to talk about what's happening and the news that have developed today. How do you think something like the coronavirus is going to affect the racing scene, especially knowing that on the 3rd and the 4th, we're down in the KZN?
Already overseas, it's a lot worse than here. We do have clients in China. We have sent 4 cars there, and at the moment, the whole racing season has been postponed. So it does have a direct effect on us because we're trying to send more cars there and sell parts and all that. So everything's been put on hold. We hope in South Africa we won't get as affected. So far, so good. I think the next race will still probably be good, but we'll have to play by ear and see how it evolves.
Sure.
Yeah.
That is hectic. All right, and just talking about getting people amped up for the series, what can we then be expecting for the rest of the calendar?
Well, of course, the big event for us is the desert race, the Toyota Desert Race. It's 1,000 kilometers in Botswana. So we have by far the largest crowds watching us there. The Botswana people are very enthusiastic motorsport lovers. They come out in their thousands to support us. That's normally the highlight for us for the year is the Botswana race. But the rest, as I said, there's a couple of new events. And it's much of the same again, I suppose. We've got a lot of international competitors now. So you touched on the coronavirus. I hope it doesn't have an effect on them. But we do have international competitors competing from time to time. We had 3 or 4 crews at the last race. And we expect the number to increase during the course of the season. It's cheap for them to come to South Africa. It's a good testing ground. For them to come and test their cars here and compete here helps them a lot in their preparations for other international events. So we hope they come. And we hope to offer them an exciting series with good routes, safe routes, and it all bodes well for a good season for us.
All right. I'm going to pose this one to Brian and Julien. You've got quite vast experience in the Dakar. So are you plowing back in terms of development, or what is going to be now your contribution in the series? Let's start with you.
Are you talking in terms of the virus or?
No, in terms of the car.
In terms of the car.
Yes.
So myself racing, we definitely pushing 100% to do well at Dakar. For me at Century Racing, as a racing driver, we're constantly trying to develop. And even as soon as Julien got back from Dakar this year, it's normally guys take a week of rest to get going. And the next day Julien was at work. We were already he had a list of at least 10 changes and things we want to work on. So we want to be at the forefront. You have to be at the forefront of your game to be able to deal with the world's best. So we're going to try everything.
So like Brian mentioned, we have a program going. We have things that we want to test, and every race this year we're going to bring new parts on the car. We're going to try to make it go faster, make it more reliable. The Dakar Rally, it's not only one thing to be quick, but the car needs to be bulletproof. It needs to survive every day, and needs to never stop for a mechanical issue. And our aim is to do the full season here without having any mechanical issues on the car. Mm-hmm. So it's a good opportunity for sure. We mustn't miss it.
All right.
Yeah.
And if you were to look back at some of the experiences that you've had with some of your cars, which would you say were the moments that stood out, and some of those mishaps and technical issues that you speak about that you definitely want to avoid in future?
We had a car, we were racing in South America, we were in the Bolivian mountains. Okay. It was snowing and raining. It was -2 degrees, and the wheel transmission broke, the side shaft. And they had to stop and make repairs there. So that's something that I took a lot of flack for, because obviously it was my fault. So it's something we don't want to. We fixed all these issues now, and we shouldn't have a repeat. But these are the kind of things that can happen in a big race, and it costs a lot of time, a lot of frustration, and it puts you back. And in a big race, when you lose all these positions, it's very hard to make it back, because you're stuck behind slow cars the next day, and it takes about 2 to 3 days to get back to your normal position in the race.
Sure.
So it's a big challenge, and many things can go wrong in the race car. This is why the more kilometers we do, the better the car gets. As if we are proactive, if we change things as we should and redevelop the parts or redesign the parts that break. Yeah.
And with you, Brian, I'm sure you've also had vast experiences and encounters. Which are those that stand out?
I'd say I've had some pretty big crashes before. It's about making the cars as tough as possible in terms of, we're able to hit things really, really fast with the suspension take it, the wheels take it. It's unbelievable these days what these cars can do. What these cars would hit in a race would normally write a normal car off. So it's every day trying to get better for those sort of split-second reactions where you're doing 180 and you hit a big hole, that the car can take it and the driver can take it, and we survive it. Yeah.
Sure. And just to wrap up the conversation, Archie, we need to talk about transformation in the sport. Are we seeing any drivers of color, perhaps?
To be honest, no, we haven't. In the past, we've had drivers that have come through a training program. It's very difficult because it's so costly to enter the sport. So it would be good if we had a sponsor that would come forward and sponsor some transformation and some empowerment drivers and that. But the reality is it's just very expensive. And at the moment, with the economy as it is, it's an expensive sport as it is for normal race drivers and for sponsors to sponsor winning drivers. But I think it's something we should look at for the series. And now with the new class, we've got a side-by-side class, which is much more affordable, more for entry-level guys. It's an automatic car. It's a smaller car. It's easier to drive. And maybe it's something we should look into as a series and try and promote some younger drivers and some youth development and even in the transformation sector. So something we should look at.
All right. No, thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through to the studio.
Thanks
Very excited about the next one, the 3rd and the 4th of April. That's how we wrap it up here from the Full View, the Sports Desk. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do stay tuned, though, to SABC News because the current affairs do continue at the top of the hour.